Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Thanks so much for joining me in my kitchen tonight. I hope you're cooking with me. I see we have several people on right now. Give me a wave, a hello, tell me where you're tuning in from, and let me know, are you actually cooking with me tonight? If you're new here, this is Cook With Me TV. It's a live interactive cooking show where you just don't sit back and watch, but you actually participate and cook along with me. It helps you get a healthy and delicious dinner on the table in under 30 minutes. Oh goodness. And I totally lost my train of thought because my volume just started playing back. Anyway, the other great thing is that it helps you get out of the rut of cooking the same thing over and over. So if you are someone who feels like you cook the same dishes week after week and you're looking for something a little bit different to spice things up, take one of these live interactive cooking shows. It'll be really fun to experiment with new foods, new flavors, and again, it's always healthy and most importantly, delicious. So tonight, what we are cooking up is a fall roasted vegetable bowl. So these are the ingredients that we're going to be using tonight. We have some kale here. We've got broccoli and Brussels sprouts and carrots, and these are the three guys that we're actually going to roast tonight. Then we're going to cook up some quinoa. You can always use any other kind of grain that you have on hand, whatever works for you or whatever you like. So that's going to be the base of our bowl. Then we're going to top it with all of these roasted vegetables. We're going to quickly massage this kale down with a little bit of lemon, olive oil, and salt. Gives it a really nice flavor, kind of breaks down the fibers. And then we're going to top it with a soft-boiled egg. And then we're going to put it all together with this maple turmeric tahini sauce. So really, a lot of things, it looks like there's a lot of things going on, but I promise as we go through the recipe, you'll see that it's actually not that difficult. I think it's fun to learn how to do several different things in the kitchen at the same time. The better that you can juggle that, the faster your meals can come out. And I'm going to be giving you some tips along the way to help you do that a little bit better. Hey, Allie, awesome, you're cooking with me tonight. Very exciting. Well, so the first thing that we're going to do for people who are cooking with me, go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And then what we'll do is get out 1 to 2, probably 2 sheet pans and line them with either foil or parchment paper. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the oven here. So I've already got my oven on, it's preheating. I've got 2 sheet pans that I am going to put some foil on. You don't have to use the foil. If you don't have any at home, that's okay. Maybe just spray your pans down with a little bit of canola oil or olive oil or whatever you have. But the parchment or the foil is going to help prevent your veggies from sticking. Makes for easy cleanup. Go ahead and do that. Mine's not perfect. You can see there's a little bit of pan peeking through. I'm just going to do the 1 sheet of foil. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay, we'll just let these guys hang out here, and then the next thing we'll do is chop up all of our wonderful veggies. Hi, Miriam. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Are you cooking with me tonight? Let me know. So the first thing, like I said, what we're going to do, I'm going to clear my cutting board here, and we are going to chop up the Brussels sprouts, the broccoli, and the carrots, and get those roasting. These vegetables are going to take longer than cooking up the quinoa and longer than cooking the soft-boiled egg. So that's why we're starting with these things first. Hey, Janet, good to see you here. Thanks for joining. How's the weather where you are? We had a beautiful weekend, but I believe we're getting some snow tomorrow. So had to enjoy it. Yay, Miriam is also cooking. I'm so excited. Okay, so if this is your first time actually cooking with me, it's pretty informal. I'm just going to walk you through the recipe step by step, and we'll all just cook along together. If I'm going a little too fast or a little too slow, just make a comment. Let me know. I'll try to alter my speed to help you. Also, if you have any questions about, maybe something I just said or what spice we're using or whatever, just shoot me a comment and I'll answer. So I'm going to start with my carrots first. I'm going to just chop off the ends here. I can kind of do that with one foul swoop. I'm using 2, 4, 6 carrots because they're kind of on the small/medium side. So I'm just going to use a couple of more than what I meant put in the recipe. Oh, Janet's saying same here. Same about the weather. And then, so the most important thing that we want to consider with our vegetables, and I'm going to get out these other pieces too, is that when we're roasting them, we want them to cook at relatively the same rate, right? So we want to make sure that we're cutting them roughly the same size. So for example, for the Brussels sprouts, we're just going to chop these guys in half like that. And then for the broccoli florets, we're just going to take off some broccoli floret pieces like this. So again, trying to kind of match up similar sizes. So then with our carrots, you can cut them into rounds like that, and that's roughly the same size. You could cut them on a diagonal, which would give you more of something like this. So however you want to do it, but just keep in mind, try to keep the veggies about the same size. Otherwise, you'll have some veggies that are overcooked or some that are undercooked, and we want them all to be roughly the same texture. I'm going to come through and do all of my carrots on that fun little diagonal shape. And the beauty of this type of dish is that, of course, you can use any kind of vegetable. It doesn't have to be these 3. Fall brings so many different vegetables, right? We've got squash. You could totally do squash. You could do other cruciferous veggies like cauliflower. You could do eggplant. But keep in mind that some of these veggies are going to cook a little bit faster than others. The ones that we have here tonight are going to cook relatively the same. They're going to take about the same amount of time. But for example, if you threw like a pepper in here or eggplant in here, those things tend to have more water. So they're going to cook a little bit faster, and they might get mushy before your broccoli or carrots are cooked through. So if you're cooking them together, you would just want to put the broccoli and the carrots in the oven first, and then give them about 15 minutes of lead cooking time, and then throw in those other high water vegetables. Just curious, did anybody tonight choose to work with different vegetables, or is everybody kind of sticking to broccoli, carrots, and Brussels sprouts? Now I'm going to get my Brussels in here, and like I said, I'm just going to come through and slice them right down the middle and just do half of, we're going to halve them. Sometimes you get these little baby Brussels in here. If you have a smaller Brussels sprout, leave it whole. Don't cut that one in half. Again, just trying to keep everything roughly the same size. I will say too, when you are cooking with me, it is useful to have someone helping you in the kitchen. I've heard that a couple of times from people. So if you have a partner, a spouse, a friend who can help you, either, type in comments if you want to keep cooking, but also ask questions. That's always helpful. Atlee is saying, sticking with broccoli, carrots, and Brussels sprouts. Awesome. Yes. They're affordable right now. Carrots are always quite affordable. Brussels sprouts are in season, so they're going to be more affordable. Broccoli is kind of, I think it's a fall and winter crop, so it's in season a little bit longer. And of course, you can find these things at the grocery store year round. Because we ship them in from warmer climates during the winter, which allows us to have, certain vegetables year round. Okay, I'm gonna scoot these guys over. And then I'm gonna get to my broccoli. Janet, I made your chocolate poblano chili last night. Ooh, and having leftovers tonight. Awesome. Oh, do you like it? Did you add any spice to it? Because I know ours initially didn't have any spice to it. A little spice is always good, especially when it's colder out. Diane, hey Diane, good to see you. I didn't see that you popped on. Yes, that is a lot of veggies. They are going to cook down though. Okay, for the broccoli, we are also going to use the stem. Don't toss out the stem. Lots of nutrition and good stuff in the stem. You know, you paid money for your broccoli, you should get the most out of it. The only thing I will say is try to chop off about 1 inch from the bottom, because this part is very woody and fibrous, and so it's not very, it's not a good experience when you try to cook that and eat it. And then so what we'll do with the stem is just chop it again, maybe the same size as your carrot pieces. So either rounds or little diagonals, however you want to do it. And just cut right up until your broccoli florets start to fall apart. Once you cut closer up on the stem, they will start to fall apart, and that helps you form those florets that we want. Again, kind of come through these bigger floret pieces and try to cut them just a little bit smaller so they match everything else. I'm going to cut the ends off of these 3 guys. Put that aside. If you can, if you're trying to be quick in the kitchen, you can kind of double or triple up on your broccoli, hold them all together, and just run your knife through. Does everybody eat the stem, or do you guys leave the stem off? I'm curious. Sometimes if I'm in a rush and I don't want to deal with the stem, I'll discard it. I'll be honest, sometimes I do. But we try to use it as often as we can. Hey Kristen, good to see you. Janet, loved it. No other spices than what you listed. Oh good, I'm glad you liked it. I don't know, I feel like everyone is very specific with how they like their chili. A lot of people enjoy having some spice in it. So if anybody is interested in the recipe that Janet's talking about, it's a chocolate poblano chili. I believe I cooked it 2 weeks ago. So if you go back into our video archive, you can find the old interactive cooking show there, and you'll see it's labeled chocolate poblano chili. And if you go into the events section of our Facebook page, that's where you'll find all of the ingredient lists for the videos, for the classes. Okay, I've got my veggies all chopped up. How is everyone else doing? Let me know. So what we're gonna do now is season these things before we throw them on a sheet pan. Diane says, eating the stem is new to me, but it makes sense. Yes, it does make sense. It tastes, I don't know, I like it. Honestly, I think it has a sweeter flavor compared to the florets. Florets are nice, but hey, Michelle, what are you making tonight? Tonight we're making fall roasted veggie bowls. So these are all the veggies that we're using. We've got broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and carrots. We're gonna throw them on a sheet pan and roast them up, put them over some quinoa, top it with a soft-boiled egg and a maple turmeric tahini sauce. It's going to be delicious. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the carrots. Put the carrots in a bowl. You could technically mix everything together, but since there's a lot of volume, a lot of veggies here, I'm gonna do them one by one just to make sure I get them all evenly coated. So grab a bowl, throw your carrots in there, and we're gonna drizzle a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper. And because we're making that tahini sauce, we don't want to add too much flavor to the veggies right now because that sauce is just going to mask it anyway. If you wanted to add a little extra spices, you could. So I just put a drizzle of olive oil in there, a little pinch of salt, a little bit of pepper. Awesome, Miriam's veggies are chopped. And either use your hands or a spoon to mix everything together. Try to make sure those carrots are all coated with some olive oil, some salt and pepper. I really like this big glass bowl. You can kind of mix everything without hands or a spoon. Kind of fun. If I had my own TV crew, I would try to do like slow motion of this. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and put these carrots now on a sheet pan. And what we're gonna do is space them out. You don't wanna crowd your pan, otherwise you're not gonna get that nice caramelized roasted flavor. So try to leave a little bit of space in between each carrot piece if you can. So what I think I'm gonna do, yeah, I'm definitely using 2 sheet pans. I'm gonna do my carrots and then Brussels sprouts, and then broccoli will have its own pan because it looks like there's a lot more broccoli pieces than there are Brussels sprouts. So I'm gonna do my Brussels sprouts next. Just scoop them into this bowl here. Michelle, I used your butternut squash last night to make butternut squash soup with, it's like a coconut curry butternut squash soup, and it is so good. So thank you. Thank you for the butternut squash. I still have the curry squash though. I'm not quite sure what to do with it. I'm a little intimidated, but I'm gonna look up a couple of recipes and see what I can do. If you have any suggestions, you let me know. I know you said you like it just roasted. Okay, a little bit of olive oil again in my bowl with the Brussels sprouts. Again, a little bit of salt. Don't be afraid to use salt. I'm not saying you need to cake it on, but your salt's gonna help bring out the natural flavor of your vegetables and make you wanna actually eat them more. Okay, toss those Brussels sprouts around. If I did that, we'd have to get takeout. Because they'd go all over the floor. Oh, I've done that many times. Many times. Okay, we'll get these Brussels sprouts on the pan. And I'll come back through and spread them out in a second. Let's go ahead and get these last veggies in here. Broccoli. Wonderful. Tiny bit more olive oil. You're still going to have a little residual olive oil in the bottom of your bowl here. So try to use up some of that too, if you can. A little bit more salt. A little bit more pepper. Does anybody do you have favorite seasonings that you typically pair your vegetables with? Like, do you kind of go to a certain seasoning for broccoli or for carrots? Or do you stick with just the tried and true olive oil, salt, and pepper? I really do like just salt and pepper, honestly. You can actually taste the vegetable. You can taste what it's supposed to taste like, which is nice. Okay. Gonna get these back on the other pan and kind of spread everything out. Again, ovens are at, oh, you know what, y'all? I'm sorry, I said 350. Bump your oven up to 425. My apologies. When you're roasting vegetables, you want to do at least 400 because it's going to help caramelize the small amount of sugars that are in these vegetables, kind of give them some browning, develop more flavor, so that you have a nice, somewhat like crispy outer layer, and then the inside is a little soft, not too soft, not mushy, but it has a little bit of bite to it. So it's kind of my preferred roasting temperature. So again, 425. And now that I just increased it, it's not going to be, the oven's not preheated yet, but I'm just going to throw them in anyway. And you can too. We'll keep an eye on them. See how they're doing. All right. right. So we've got that. Let me know how everyone's doing. Oh, I know. It's getting there. It's getting there. I feel her moving around a lot, which is fun. It's very fun. Oh, Janet's saying garlic. Garlic is an excellent addition to roasted vegetables. Garlic powder is always good too. Easy. You don't have to chop anything else up. Oh, Michelle's saying, you're welcome. Bake it up. I mash it like potato. Oh, that's a good idea. Or eat it plain with salt and pepper. And the skin. Oh, that's right. So real quick, if anybody does run into a curry squash, you can eat the skin, apparently. Again, haven't tried it, but it's coming from Michelle. So thanks, Michelle, for that wonderful tip. And also, Michelle, can you mention again where you got them from? Whatever farm it was called. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but maybe people here in Peoria might be interested in going down there and checking it out. Oh, yes, that's good. Garlic and rosemary. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to fill up our pot with water. Excuse me, actually both of them. So we're going to do the eggs in here, soft-boiled eggs, and then the quinoa in this one. So for the eggs, I'm just going to fill up my pot about 3/4 of the way. And we'll just turn that on to a high heat and get that pot of water boiling. Turn that on. Wrong burner. Okay, put a lid on it. Trap the heat, let it cook a little faster. And then for the quinoa, we're going to check out the back of the package and see how much water we need per cup of dry quinoa. You can make however much you want. I would recommend, if you are looking to do, like if you want to have some cooked quinoa for later in the week, so it's one less thing that you have to cook, whether it's for dinner or for breakfast, maybe you want to cook a little bit more. So maybe instead of doing 1 cup of quinoa, you do 2 or 3 cups of quinoa. So just make sure you look at the back of your bag and see how much water you need for that. So for this one in particular, which is a red quinoa, there's a few different types. There's regular white quinoa or a darker brown quinoa. This says to bring 2 cups of water to a boil for every 1 cup of quinoa. So I'm going to do 2 cups of quinoa, which means I'm going to need 4 cups of water. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Grab a big old measuring cup. Fill it with 4 cups. You can also do stock, like chicken stock, veggie stock, which will add a little more flavor into the grain that you're cooking. So if you have any on hand and you want to use that, go ahead. I am just going to do, you know what, I think I am going to add a little bit of base. Okay, so that's 4 cups of water. Turn that burner on, get it coming up to a boil. And now that I've said the stock thing out loud, I am going to add some veggie stock. Or base, rather, I should say. Does anybody use veggie stock or veggie base or keep it on hand? It's a really great staple to have. I'm going to use about a tablespoon. Again, this is for 4 cups of water. And I'm going to let that guy hang out, put a lid on him. Again, we're bringing up that water to a boil before we pour the quinoa in. Hey, Jean, good to see you. What's going on? What is going on? Thanks, Michelle. Okay, so Michelle's saying it's Christ Apple Orchard, Texas Road in Elmwood. So that's where she got this wonderful curry squash, as well as the 2 butternut squash that are already cooked. But they have lots of different things, lots of squash right now. So go on, check them out. Okay, so while our water is coming up to a boil, Go ahead and, if you don't have your eggs out already, go ahead and get out your eggs. Again, we're soft boiling these, so we're just going to plop them into that simmering water for about 5 minutes. We will put a timer on it. If you cook the eggs over 5 minutes, you're going to go more into a hard-boiled egg. So if you like that, that's okay. Go ahead and do that. If you prefer the soft-boiled, I would do 4 to 5 minutes. I know, because I'm pregnant, and maybe some people who are cooking with me are pregnant and are worried about eating the soft-boiled egg, and you don't want to have like a runny yolk. You might want a fully cooked yolk. Go ahead and just cook them, hard boil them if you like. I will say I have been, and not that you should do exactly what I'm doing, but I've been eating soft-boiled eggs and soft, pretty undercooked yolks, and I haven't had any issues, thankfully. The way that you can reduce your risk of getting a foodborne illness from an undercooked yolk is to make sure that your eggs have been properly stored in the refrigerator. So if you're not someone who's, leaving your eggs out on the counter, and they've been, refrigerated for the most part, then you're probably safe to eat them as a soft-boiled egg. So make sure that those are out. We want them to come to relatively room temperature before we plop them into that boiling water. So now what we'll do is get our tahini turmeric sauce together. So go ahead and get out your tahini. Was everybody able to find tahini? I know sometimes it's hard to find it. A little bit of maple syrup, turmeric, and we're going to use a little bit of water to thin this out. We're also going to use some salt and pepper. So the tahini is kind of like the natural peanut butter or nut butters. It's kind of hard to stir. So what I like to do is just use a butter knife and kind of stick my knife in there. I'm getting towards the end of my jar, so it's a little bit harder maybe than yours is if you have a fresh jar of tahini. But all we want to do is just kind of mix that stuff together so we get a nice homogeneous paste. Oh, Jean said, I couldn't cook with you, but I'm happy I finished my work in time to watch. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm sorry you had to work on the weekend. David's actually working right now too, so I know how it can be. I did a little work today myself. Sometimes you just gotta work on the weekend. Jean, I was really bad about eating undercooked eggs when I was pregnant. I kept forgetting. It turned out okay. Thanks for sharing that, Jean. I appreciate it, because it's a common concern for a lot of pregnant women. You don't want to ever put, of course, your baby at risk, but you still also want to eat foods that you enjoy eating. And eggs are so healthy, especially for pregnancy. They've got choline, vitamin A, zeaxanthin, which is good for eye health. Lots of good stuff. Okay, once you get your tahini mixed up, go ahead and put 2 tablespoons of your tahini in a bowl. We're going to start this sauce. Sorry, mine is taking forever to mix up. How is everyone else's tahini? Hey, Evan. Good to see ya. Diane is asking, what is tahini? Tahini is sesame seed paste. So it's basically sesame seeds that are ground up into a paste. You could also kind of think of it as sesame butter, like peanut butter or almond butter. So it's just sesame seeds. It's used a lot in Mediterranean cooking. So it's used in hummus. Sometimes it's used in falafel, baba ganoush. Almost there. How's everyone else's tahini? If you're trying to find it at the grocery store, a lot of times it'll be in like the international aisle where they have Asian and Indian type foods. You can find it there. If you can't find it, sometimes they put it in very strange places at the grocery store, so just ask someone. And if they don't know what it is, say it's sesame seed paste and it's a Mediterranean food, because that might help them pinpoint where it is. Oh, if you love sesame seeds, Jean, you would probably love tahini. Okay, this looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and pour. I'm gonna eyeball my 2 tablespoons of tahini. 1, 2. Okay. Stick that aside. I'm gonna do about a teaspoon, just a little drizzle of maple syrup. We can always add more if we need to. And then I'm gonna do about a 1/4 cup of water. You'll see the tahini is really thick to work with, and so we're gonna end up adding a little bit more water as we go. All right, I'm gonna do about a teaspoon, half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of turmeric. Can be a pretty overpowering spice. And we're gonna do a pinch of salt and pepper. I can smell something boiling. So once you get your ingredients in that bowl, let's real quick pop over to the stove and see what's going on over here. Not quite on that one. I swear I heard, oh, maybe not. False alarm. Okay. Hey, Shelly. Good to see you. Miriam, is there anything you can substitute for tahini? Since I thought I had it, but I don't. Sigh. Oh no, that's okay. Do you have a nut butter? Almond butter would work better than peanut butter, but you can do a pretty good one with peanut butter, and I'll just give you some substitutions. Okay, grab a whisk or a fork or a spoon, whatever you have, and start whisking, mixing all of this together. We want this to be a relatively thick and creamy sauce. So if you find that it's too thin, we'll add a little bit more tahini. I've got some tahini chunks in here I'm trying to break up. I think I might have overshot it on my water amount. And as you're mixing your tahini into that liquid, sometimes you'll find that it looks like things are not mixing together. Just keep mixing. Just keep going. So I added a touch too much water to mine, so mine's a little too liquidy. I'm gonna add a little bit more tahini to thicken it up. Go ahead and do that if you did the same thing. Or if yours is too thick, add just a little bit of water to thin it out. Might end up using all of my tahini here. Just mix all that together. Okay, Miriam has peanut butter. So let's see, you could do peanut butter. Hold on, something's boiling over on the stove. Ah! I guess it's just condensation from the lid. Yes, it is. So you could do you like spicy, Miriam? Because if you like spicy, you could do peanut butter, a little bit of the maple syrup, your salt and pepper, and then you want some kind of acid in there. So if you have like a white balsamic vinegar or lime juice would go really well in there. Or you could do soy sauce, add a little bit of soy sauce in there. So let me know what of those ingredients you have. And if you do like spice, you could add a little bit of I don't know if you have chili garlic sauce, but that's what I have because we like to use that, and we'll probably put that on later. Let me know. Hey, Sarah. Good to see you. How are you? Okay, so my sauce is thickening up nicely. I don't know if you can see. It should be like a golden yellow color. How's everyone's sauce coming along? And then we're also going to add just a touch of lemon. Yeah, I've just got some chunks in here that I'm trying to break up. I'm good. Thank you. Okay, if your water's boiling, like mine is, let's go ahead and tend to this before we finish that sauce. Okay, so let's do the quinoa first. I'm gonna just mix that base around in here a little bit. You can go ahead and dump your quinoa in, however much you're using. Again, I'm doing 2 cups of quinoa. I've got 4 cups of liquid in here. And I also added a little veggie base just to switch things up. Okay, grab my quinoa. So quinoa is one of the few grains that is considered a complete protein. So you might be thinking, are we like getting that much protein in this meal? Yes, we have an egg, but it's just 1 egg. So am I going to be, meeting my protein needs? The quinoa has quite a bit of protein in it, and it's going to be the same quality of protein found in your egg. So yes, you will be getting plenty of protein. And while we don't consider vegetables an excellent source of protein, but they do have a little bit of protein. So all of this, combined together, you're absolutely going to meet your protein needs. Woo. All right. And then let me do one thing at a time. I'm trying to multitask, and I shouldn't. Okay, quinoa in, give it a stir. Once your quinoa is in, go ahead and lower the temperature to about a medium heat. And the quinoa is only going to take about 15 minutes to cook up. So it won't take very long. I'm going to put this lid back on and lower the heat on that to medium. And then for the eggs, so when we soft boil our eggs, what we're going to do is lower this heat as well to about medium low. We just want this to be simmering. We don't want it to be boiling. And if you have a slotted spoon or a ladle works well. That'll be a really nice way to drop your eggs into the water without, having them crash onto the bottom of the pan and crack open. So just gently lower those eggs into the water. And then once you get all 4 of them in, or however many you're using, go ahead and set your timer accordingly. So again, I'm going to do 5 minutes for the soft boil. If you want to do a hard boil, do 7 minutes. So I'm going to got my timer set for 5 minutes. And I'm going to leave the lid off of the eggs. Okay, I'm going to check the quinoa real quick just to make sure it's not going to come up and boil. It looks good. Looks good. Okay. Diane, good point. Diane says, if I don't get enough protein, I'm starving an hour later. So there's 3 nutrients that help us feel fuller longer: fiber, fat, and protein. And if you're not getting an adequate amount of those in each meal, you're probably going to feel really hungry like an hour later or even 30 minutes later. So, if you're someone who feels like you're constantly hungry all throughout the day and you're not pregnant, maybe check back on what your meal looked like beforehand. Did you have fiber in there? Did you have enough protein? Did you have some fat in there? Because all those things are going to help keep you feeling satisfied. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna do is a little bit of lemon in here. You can use like lemon juice that you have in your fridge, or you can use a fresh lemon. You can also use any other kind of citrus that you have. You could do a lime, you could do an orange, you could do a grapefruit. And I'm just gonna squeeze half of this guy in there. So it's gonna be roughly a tablespoon, kind of depending on how big your lemon is. I'm just using my hand to catch any seeds that fall out so they don't go in the sauce here. Okay, that looks good. Go ahead and mix that in. Give your sauce a taste. See if it needs anything. Excuse me. I'm gonna add a touch more water here. It's really thickening up on me. The longer that you let it sit, the thicker it'll get to, so you might find that you need to add a little bit of liquid periodically. Okay, taste it real quick. Ooh, I like it. I think I'm gonna add just a touch more maple syrup though. So this is the fun part where you get to play around with your sauce and really make it into something that you enjoy eating. If the sesame flavor is just too much for you, add a little bit more liquid, whether that's lemon juice or water. Also, adding a little bit of maple syrup, a little bit of sweetness can help cut the flavor of the tahini itself as well. Okay. How's everyone doing? Okay, I'm gonna set this guy aside. Once you're done with your sauce, tweaking your sauce flavors, go ahead and set it aside. I'm gonna just clean up a little bit here so I've got some room to do the next part of the recipe, which is the kale. So you've got your big bunch of kale. Miriam, added soy sauce and lemon juice. Tastes good. Awesome. Yes, you can really use any kind of nut or seed paste that, again, like the cashew and the almond butter and even the sesame seed butter, those flavor profiles would align more with a tahini. The peanut butter is kind of its own, it's in its own arena, and so the flavors are going to be a little bit different with that one. But I'm glad you like it, so that's good. Awesome. Okay, kale. Get out your bunch of kale. Go ahead and rinse it under the sink if you haven't already. Sometimes it can harbor a lot of dirt and sometimes some critters. So you just want to make sure to get that stuff off. Oh, leaf down. Ah, Kiki. Kiki just started taking this whole leaf away. 5-second rule. You should, I can smell the vegetables in the oven right now. You should be able to start smelling that. Oh, here's our 5-minute timer for the eggs. So I'm gonna go over there, dish them out. Where's my, I'm just gonna turn this burner off of the eggs. Oh, this guy cracked, but that's okay. Nothing's coming out. All right, we'll just put those eggs back in the bowl. We're gonna let them cool off while we do everything else. And we'll peel them. These will be the last things we do. Cool. While I'm here, I'm just gonna check on the quinoa. Awesome. Quinoa's looking good. Cooking away. Perfect. Okay. So with our kale, once you're done rinsing it, Gonna rinse a little more. What we're gonna do is get out, if you had a big bowl that you were mixing your vegetables in, go ahead and get that bowl out. Yes, it's got olive oil and salt and pepper in it, but that's okay because we are going to flavor these kale leaves with the same thing. So we're gonna use that big bowl, but before we do that, we're gonna strip the stems off of, or rather the leaves off of the stem of the kale. The stems can be pretty hard to chew and a little bitter when they're raw, and we're not cooking the kale, we're going to massage it. So what you can do is hold the bottom of the stem with one hand and then use your other hand to strip those leaves right off, leaving the stem by itself. So go ahead and do that with all of your leaves. And then what we'll do is just run a knife through all these leaves, chop them up into smaller bite-sized pieces, and get them into that big bowl. No matter how many times I do that kale stripping trick, it never gets old. So if you don't have kale or you don't like kale, or you don't want to, fuss with all of this, you could do any kind of salad green that you like or have on hand. You could use spinach in place of this. Again, lots of different ways, lots of different options that you have here. Right. And yes, there's going to be some water coming off of this, but not a big deal. And I know this looks like a ton of kale. It does. But it's going to reduce down in volume once we start massaging it. Yes, we are going to massage our kale tonight. Okay, so once you've got all of that stripped, I'm actually going to drain some of this water off in the sink. You can do the same if you've got a lot. Okay, we'll just use our knife and come through and just chop some of these leaves. Okay, we'll put them all into that big bowl that we used earlier. Hopefully it's a big bowl. If it's not going to fit all of your kale, you might need to do this in 2 batches. Okay. And then what we're going to do is sprinkle a generous pinch of salt over the kale leaves. And then we're going to use the other half of that lemon. So the salt and the lemon together are going to help break down the fibers of the kale so that it's just a little bit more tender and easier to bite. It also takes away from the bitterness of raw kale. It's really good. Topped with our sauce, so good. Has everybody had tahini who is cooking with me? Because if you don't like how the sauce came out, because you're not, you've never had tahini before and you're not quite sure about it, we can always come up with some other ideas of ways to top your bowl tonight. Okay, so then the fun part, we're gonna get in here and massage. So you're basically just squeezing the kale in your hands and really massaging the leaves down. Again, we're trying to tenderize the kale. We're going to do this for a couple minutes. Hey, Coriana. What's going on? We got your save the date in the mail last week. We're super excited for you guys. So just keep on massaging. So fun fact about the turmeric that we just threw into that sauce. Your body actually needs pepper in order to absorb turmeric. Turmeric is an anti-inflammatory spice, but again, you can't reap those benefits unless you've got black pepper with the turmeric. So that's why we added black pepper into that sauce. So just a fun fact there. All right, so you can see this is really reduced down in volume. It was like up here, so that's good. Once you notice that it's reduced in volume, go ahead and just pick up a leaf and taste it and see if it needs extra massaging or if it's done. It's still a little chewy. I'm going to massage it down a little bit more, but it should have a nice flavor. It should sort of have like a tangy kind of flavor from the lemon. But then the salt is also helping flavor it too. If you feel like you need a little bit more of those two ingredients, by all means, add a little bit more. I would just say add a little bit at a time because they can be overpowering and it's hard to reverse that with this. I'm going to add a tiny bit more olive oil into mine. And a tiny bit more salt. Massage it for just a little bit longer. And then I can hear my quinoa making some noises over there. I'm gonna go check it out in just a second. See what that looks like. I'm gonna taste another leaf real quick. Oh yeah. That's tasty. And this big batch of kale will last you for a while. So if you have leftovers tonight, you can keep it in the fridge and it won't get super soggy. It'll keep for about 5 days. It's just a heartier green. All right. Whoop. Let's check that quinoa. Might need to give it a stir. Looking good. Ooh, it smells good too, because I added that stock in there, that base. So you'll see that if you've never cooked quinoa before, you can tell when it's done, when all of the liquid is absorbed, yes, but also there's little tails that kind of sprout out from each grain. So if you just pick some up, you can see that they're already starting to do that. So this is almost done, probably just 5 more minutes. Let's check the veggies while we're here too. Oh yeah. So my veggies are looking pretty good. I'm gonna pull them out because they're getting a nice char on the outside and I don't wanna burn them. I also just don't wanna overcook them because I don't want them to get mushy. Look at that. Oh, looks so good. Oh yes. How are everyone else's looking? How are they? These look good. Oh yeah, these carrots are nice and caramelized. I think roasted carrots might be my favorite roasted vegetable. Yes. My veggies are definitely done. If you put yours in the same time I did, then yours are probably done too. So we'll let these guys hang out for a couple minutes, and right now we can go ahead and start dishing everything up. So go ahead and get a bowl or a plate, or however you want to do it. I'm going to get a pretty big bowl, and I'm going to start with the kale. So I'm just going to put about a handful of kale in here on the side. And we do actually, now that I'm saying this out loud, we need to wait for the quinoa. So like I said, quinoa's got about 5 more minutes. Let's go ahead and peel our eggs so we can get them ready. And then we can see the verdict, you know, did I actually Did I soft boil them? Did I do it correctly? I'm just trying to find a bowl to put my eggshells in. Okay, so they're still a little warm, but that's okay. I'm gonna roll it on the table, crack it, and then peel them. If they're too hot to handle, run them under some cold water. Oh, my eggshells are sticking. The shell is sticking to the egg. Sometimes that happens. I'm gonna run this under cold water real quick. And do all of them. Let them sit in a little cold water. There we go. Now we're peeling. How's everyone else doing? Everyone still cooking their quinoa? You got your vegetables out, your kale's done, your sauce is done. Does anyone not like the sauce? You're not gonna hurt my feelings if you don't like the sauce. Because like I said before, it took me a while to actually start liking the flavor of tahini. So I totally get it. Okay, I can tell that this is definitely soft boiled because it's just kind of like jiggling around in my hand, which might be very unappealing to some people, but oh, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Okay, there's one. Oh, I just cracked this one in half. Okay, 0 for 2 at this point. Well, I guess not really. They haven't completely cracked open. You know, sometimes peeling them under cold running water works better. I might do that with, oh, here we go. Janet, I always have trouble peeling mine. I do too, and I swear I've read so many different things like and put your boiled eggs in a cold water bath immediately after cooking, and that will help the eggshell release from the skin. But that does not always work. What else have I heard? I've also heard some things like organic eggs are easier to peel than non-organic, which is not true either in my experience. So I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out the science behind all this, if there even is science behind it. But if anyone else has some tried and true tips for egg peeling, please let me know. Almost there. So how many is everybody cooking for tonight? Is it just one of you, two of you, a family? I'm cooking for 4 people. So we're doing 1 egg per bowl. If you feel like you want a little more protein, go ahead and do 2 eggs per bowl. Whatever you want. Michelle, I use my pressure cooker to cook eggs, and they usually peel pretty easy for me. So I wonder, so when you do like a hard-boiled egg, how done is the middle? Is it still a little soft in the middle? Oh, God. I'm gonna rinse this guy off real quick. I think I might need Colleen in here. She's like a super speedy egg peeler. I don't know how she does it. And they never look mangled. Miriam, cooking for 2 here. Colleen, are you in here? She's not in here. I don't know where she is. Oh! You have any tips for egg peeling? No? Okay. Just roll them? Okay. Well, I kind of wanted that. Michelle, depends on how long you set the timer. Yes. I was just wondering if maybe, if the longer you cook them, are they easier to peel, less time? I don't know. Okay, this one is proving to be much easier. See, same eggs. Makes no sense. Okay, once I get this guy off, I'm gonna check that quinoa again. Should be ready to go. Once that quinoa is done, we are done and we can just put everything together. Okay, this is like the perfect egg. I'm gonna use that guy on mine because it's so pretty. Jean, so I don't know what to do if I need to eat the eggs hot because I always have medium boiled eggs cold. But if you eat them cold, it's good to put them directly into ice water after you take them out of the boiling water. The change in temperature makes the eggs shrink away from that membrane and it peels away super easy. That's what I had read before too. But I swear, I tried it one time and it didn't work. But I'll try it again. And it's very possible that I didn't completely follow the instructions because I'm very good at doing that. So I will try that again. Oh yeah. Quinoa is done. Turning this off, keeping the lid off. Beautiful. So we're gonna scoop some of this into that bowl along with the kale. We're gonna dish out all of the other veggies. And you can either, you can make your bowl look pretty by just placing the vegetables, in groups on top, or you can mix everything together. I find that when everything is mixed together, it's really nice. So that's what I'm gonna do real quick. So I've got my veggies there right on top of the quinoa, and I'll just use this spoon here. We can kind of just mix the quinoa and the veggies together. You could mix the kale in there too, however you want to do that. Oh yeah. Perfect. Okay. Then we will put our soft-boiled egg. I'll do one of the broken ones. So I'm just putting him on top and I'm going to cut him open. Oh goodness, it looks beautiful. That right there is like a perfect soft-boiled egg. Look at that. So good. And then last but not least, our tahini sauce. Which I'm gonna just use a spoon to drizzle all of this wonderful sauce on top. And now that I'm doing this, some chopped nuts on top would be really nice too. It would add a little bit of crunch. There we have it. Roasted veggie bowls with quinoa, some massaged kale, and a beautiful soft-boiled egg. So good. Sarah's saying ice bath usually works for me. I try to leave them in there for about 5 minutes. Maybe I'm not leaving them in there long enough then. Maybe I should try that. I can be a very impatient person, especially when it comes to food. So it's very possible that I did not leave them in there. Okay, this is piping hot right now, but I'm going to give it a try. I hope you can give yours a try too and let me know how it is. Oh, it's so good. Beautiful. I love it. I hope you love it. The sauce really ties things together. And I'll say one more thing about the tahini too. If you were like me when you're first trying it and it was a little too overpowering, once you put it on something and mix it in, it's a very different taste or a very different flavor. So try that. Yes, Miriam likes the idea of adding nuts. So, yay! Okay. Well, thanks y'all for cooking along with me. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the meal. I hope you enjoyed the cooking process. Would love to hear your feedback. Let me know, did I cook too fast, too slow, just right? And come back next week. So next week we are cooking an apple ginger butternut squash soup. It's going to be delicious. Another relatively easy meal to throw together. Really just trying to use lots of fall fruits and vegetables on the show for November. So if you're wanting to learn how to cook a little bit more with that butternut squash, definitely come cook with me next week. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. You're welcome. All right, y'all, enjoy your dinner, and I'll see you next week.